You're listening to the Slavic Literature Pod, your shelf help guide to all things Slavic. I'm Cameron Lalana.
And I'm Matt Karasimovich.
And today we are covering Part 1, Chapter 36 of Vasily Grossman's Life and Fate, continuing on our tale about the young Viktorov and his remembrances of his beautiful days when he had been shot down and was recovering in a Stalingrad hospital, attended to by Vera Shaposhnikova, a character we have not yet met, who is, I think, if I recall correctly, pregnant with his child. Not that he knows this.
Spoilers? Well, from the first book. Yeah.
Like, if you didn't read Stalingrad, that's your own fault. I know we said you didn't have to, but this is actually the price for not doing that.
Do you know who Vera is off the top of your head?
What do you mean, do I know who Vera is?
Who's Vera in relation to everybody?
Yeah, she's the daughter of Marusia and Stepan. I forget his middle name.
Spiridonov, yeah.
Spiridonov,
Okay.
yeah. Well, it was last name. I don't remember his middle name.
Oh, yeah.
It was
I had to, when I was writing this chapter, I was like, Vera? It's been so long since we had read Stalingrad.
I remember her really well, not to go too far away, but I remember her really well because we were really trying to like, oh, yeah, the fact that she's pregnant is trying to be positive about the future of the Soviet Union, and then also being like, we're not trying to say that this is what motherhood necessarily represents in all conflicts, that it's all, let's not go ahead and counteract any feminist analysis of this scene, but this is just maybe how Grossman would say it, not our views, just... Anyway, that's why I remember that part so well. I was trying to navigate explaining that part.
Yeah, it's been so long since I had read Stalingrad that I completely, honestly forgot about that.
That's fair.
But anyways.
Anywho,
we're back to we're on the brackish water chapter, where Viktorov kind of he's sort of on the eve of being called up to the front, even though he doesn't maybe quite know it. But I think if you're in the reserves at this point of the war, you're probably thinking you're getting the call any day now. Mm-hmm. Things don't seem to be doing too well, so it's probably only a matter of time. But he doesn't like where he's at, so he's thinking back to a much better time of when he was, like you said, wounded in the hospital, recovering. And I think it's because he feels kind of lonely a little bit. A lot of the last chapter is just kind of wandering around the forest, and he's thinking about his sort of lost love, and he's comparing it to a fairy tale that he can't get out of his head. And there's some similarities, but it's it's an old-timey fairy tale, so it's kind of jarring to see this description sort of fit in the middle of a World War II narrative. And then you might be wondering why the fairy tale? What does this have to do with anything? And I think it has to do with a little bit what I was talking about yesterday, and a little bit about this last paragraph of the chapter, which goes, "A young, narrow-shouldered lieutenant was walking through the forest in a worn tunic. How many people there were like him, forgotten during unforgettable years." And that was such a great stinging line to end on. He kind of, much like the fairy tale, is just a character in these unforgettable years. He's a sort of the patterned character of the lieutenant that is going out and will probably die or be severely wounded, inevitably forgotten about. He's one of those that we talked about before that are ultimately forgotten about, even if their names may be on a memorial. Maybe he's one of the ones that doesn't make it, right? And much like fairy tale, which is sort of the gist of it is remembered without any of the particulars, this too will be his fate, or at least from this one scene. It's kind of what I was thinking on this.
Yeah, I was thinking similarly. I think I read the fairy tale slightly differently in that we have this chapter, and then in the context of the previous chapter, we have the young modern man who looks back on those old, half-forgotten eras of those old, maidens in towers, and in this case, we've got a prince in a tower, but right, all these things as kind of a naive young thing, and yet he is a young man, one of countless many young people who will be forgotten in these unforgettable years, and yet the fairy tale, the idea of the old era persists. Now, they don't necessarily reflect a real person, but they reflect a sense of feeling, a sense of longing. In this case, this desire for Vera to want him, or as badly as he clearly wants her, such that she would be like Princess Dolgorukaya, searching for him for years and years. And we have, even in this time of we of course know so much better than these older people, this old fairy tale is his main frame of reference for his emotional reality. And in some ways that I don't know, taking a crack at modernity, for all we have, will it be remembered as well as this one old fairy tale?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. That's how I came away from it.
Yeah. I still, I'm still kind of, fairy tale was interesting to me. It could go many different ways.
As with many fairy tales.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I think we've dipped our feet into talking about fairy tales in the past, but I would love to go back. There's just something in the ways that, Tolstoy thought of them as a great propagandistic piece, and I think he's right. I'm probably going to remember this story of Princess Longhands longer than some other particulars of this book. I can already tell.
You think? For me, it's already a forgotten tale in an otherwise unforgettable book.
Matt's he's the antithesis of what's going on here. He will his modernity is more powerful and will overshadow and perhaps even shatter this past.
And in that, we find much of the tragedy of the 20th century.
Ding, ding, ding! Put another quarter in the jar.
Another quarter.
All right, I think that's all we really had to talk about today.
Yeah, another rapid fire one. But we will be back to give you more Life and Fate tomorrow. In which case, you will be hearing from us again soon.